It's been a mixed few months for the clean energy transition. And the Minister was out this morning in Adelaide, spruiking the government's domestic solar manufacturing ambitions.
We're continuing with the hard journey towards net zero. There are those who would walk away from that.
Chris Bowen's determination comes after a string of setbacks, including a spate of high-profile green hydrogen projects that have been axed, deflating hype around hydrogen's potential as a future export earner.
With $200 billion pipeline of investment, Australia is the green hydrogen capital of the world.
That was in September last year when the government was promoting billions in subsidies to hydrogen investors. Since then, there's been a rethink, partly because of high costs, regulations and weak demand. The biggest setback came a month ago when the LNP state government scuppered its $14 billion Central Queensland hydrogen project. BP has joined the exodus, walking away from a $54 billion mega project in the Pilbara. And billionaire Andrew Forrest halted taxpayer-backed plans to make electrolysers in Gladstone. At the same time, costs for vital new transmission lines are surging, according to the market regulator, while offshore wind is struggling to get going.
We are, for the time being, on a path to comprehensive failure. Australia is currently on a trajectory to miss its renewable energy targets because of low investment and output in grid-scale solar and wind. Not by a little, but by a big margin.
The transition has reached a critical moment. Voters in May rejected the Coalition's nuclear alternative, which means everything is now riding on the success of Labor's chosen energy path, a complex mix of solar, wind, storage and transmission backed by gas. And all of it has to be built before our remaining ageing coal-fired power stations close.
The challenges that we're now facing are not that we don't know what the solutions are, it's how we deploy them efficiently and how we get the right mix of those solutions so that we have a reliable system but also one that helps us meet our climate targets.
The problem, according to experts like Alison Reeve, is that the government isn't sending the right market signals. Its two biggest policy levers are a subsidy to power companies, known as the Renewable Energy Target, and a huge but opaque government underwriting program called the Capacity Investment Scheme. Both are temporary.
The Renewable Energy Target comes to an end in 2030 and the Capacity Investment Scheme is in place now but will be not incentivising new investment on its current construction after 2030. So we just think that replacing or succeeding those measures with a proper market-based and enduring market signal for clean energy investment will really be critical.
Many economists still think the best solution to getting more investment into the grid is with an economy-wide carbon price.
We run the risk of spending a national budgetary fortune to buy failure. The best cure in the national interest is a carbon price. It can add about 1% of GDP or about $25 billion to government revenues, with only a small proportion being required to compensate households for increases in power prices.
Ross Garnaut is a long and strong supporter of a carbon tax. We don't agree with that. And there are countries with a carbon price that aren't doing as well as we are on renewable energy. Let me make that respectful point to Ross. So while I have a lot of respect for him, I fundamentally disagree on that point.
The government's reluctance to countenance a carbon tax stems from the scars it carries from the Rudd-Gillard era, which ended with Tony Abbott dismantling Labor's clean energy regime. But what it means in practice is that Chris Bowen has been forced to jerry-rig a series of second-best policy solutions like its underwriting scheme, which have put much of the risk on taxpayers rather than private investors without real transparency.
Because all these contracts are commercial in confidence, we don't know where the price floors are, we don't know where the price ceilings are. The more transparency that you have around price, the easier it is for other investors to see what the risk is and adjust what they are doing.
Another problem with the government's current approach is that it may be creating investor bottlenecks.
No one wants to go in without a government deal. And the other effect that has is that it slows the pace of investment to the pace at which government is able to award contracts.
These headaches are well known to investors, and the government today released an interim review of the national energy market. With a proposal to replace the existing scheme, with one that guarantees longer-term revenue to investors while potentially making money for the government.
Retailers and large market customers will often be willing to strike a deal to buy electricity for about 5 years. So what the NEM review is doing is trying to solve for that risk sharing beyond the 5-year period.
Despite worries over policy complexity and high-profile setbacks of recent months, there has been progress. Marinus Link, a $5 billion transmission project connecting Tasmanian hydro and wind power to mainland customers, just won federal environmental approval. And batteries are being wired into the grid at an unprecedented rate. Via Labor's home battery scheme and mega projects like the Waratah Super Battery, which was switched on this week, and the ACT's Williamsdale storage system, currently under construction.
A lot of our energy system was built late last century. The asset life is coming to an end. I don't think there are any low-cost options here. We have to replace our energy system. We have no choice about that. You want to get the lowest cost version of that, including the value you attach to reducing emissions.